Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.
Welcome to Africa Investor Today. I'm Zylan. In politics and economy, President Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso has stepped up efforts to mediate in the Ghanaian political crisis after soldiers fired on demonstrators last week. The Burkinabe leader, who arrived in the Ghanaian capital, Conakry, yesterday, was appointed by Economic Community of West African States last week. Compaoré, who has previously helped mediate in Côte d'Ivoire and Togo, is a former army captain who rose to power in Burkina Faso in a 1987 coup. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir on Monday invited the country's opposition for talks aimed at avoiding clashes in next year's general election, a week after they threatened to boycott it. We wish to have general elections without violence. I invite all parties to a dialogue in order to reach a positive climate to hold elections, Bashir told Parliament. Africa's largest country is to hold presidential, parliamentary and local elections in April 2010 in its first general election since 1986. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us.
Redefining energy means redefining life. At the Petroleum, Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, our commitment to greater innovation and greener fuels has made us pioneers in the field of gas-to-liquids technology. It has also earned us worldwide recognition for producing the cleanest fuels through environmentally friendly processes. That's how we've become the international leader in diesel technology. Through pure innovation, pure energy, pure brilliance.
Welcome back. In companies and markets now. Safaricom Limited, Kenya's biggest mobile phone company, has received regulatory approval to sell bonds worth 12 billion shillings. The first tranche, with a maturity of 5 years, will be 5 billion shillings at an interest rate to be announced later, the company said in an advertisement. The sale opens tomorrow and closes on October the 29th, it added. Proceeds from each issue will be applied by Safaricom Limited for its general corporate capital purposes, the advertisement said. Bharti Airtel will continue to scan emerging markets for acquisitions or partnerships after the Indian company ended talks over a cross-shareholding deal with South Africa's MTN last week, its chairperson said. It's my job to move forward and not look back, Sunil Mittal said on Monday on the sidelines of a telecoms industry event in Geneva. We will keep on looking at opportunities and we'll look at all the emerging markets, Mittal said, adding that he has open partnerships as well as acquisitions. Bharti and MTN called off talks to seal a $24 billion tie-up last Wednesday. Stay with us, we'll be back after this.
Afrexim Bank is Africa's leading trade finance bank, an organization dedicated to promoting African trade through credit, risk-bearing and advisory services. We pride ourselves on having local presence throughout the continent and are committed to extending our award-winning trade and project finance programs to unlock private sector development continent-wide. We invite you to become a part of our vision for a strong Africa in a changing world. If you trade within Africa, contact us to support you.
We turn to banking and finance now. The new chief executive of Absa Group's investment banking arm aims to increase revenue growth by 50 to 60% in the next 3 years as business in its core capital markets starts to pick up. CEO Stephen van Coller, who took over as head of Absa Capital on October the 1st, said he would focus on boosting business on the continent, particularly in debt capital markets in sub-Saharan Africa, where parent Barclays operates. Focus for me is trying to get the FX platform sorted out. There's still a big gap between us and Standard Bank in terms of just size across sub-Saharan Africa, Van Coller told Reuters in an interview on Monday. Nigeria will release $2 billion from its windfall oil savings to try to stimulate its economy and clear debts to the banking system, Finance Minister Mansour Mutar confirmed on Monday. A government source told Reuters earlier that President Umaru Yar'Adua had approved the withdrawal from the excess crude account into which Nigeria saves oil revenues above a benchmark level as protection against any fall in world energy prices. We're going to look at various activities aimed at stimulating the manufacturing sector, Mutar said in Istanbul, where he's attending a World Bank and IMF annual meeting. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us.
Africa Investor, the leading African investment magazine, is essential reading for investors in Africa, filled with the very latest in Pan-African investment and finance news. In addition, log on to africa-investor.com to find out more about our exciting capital market infrastructure and tourism events, and our long-standing investable Africa Investor 100 Index series, which tracks over $600 billion of African equities. Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
In infrastructure now, Actis, the private equity group specializing in emerging markets, announced on Tuesday that it had raised $750 million for a new infrastructure fund to invest in power and transport assets in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The fund is 40% smaller than its initial target of $1.25 billion, underlying how investors are pulling back from new infrastructure funds after suffering heavy losses in the asset class during the credit crunch. Paul Fletcher, Senior Managing Partner at Actis, said, "We are not disappointed at all. This is the world's most difficult fundraising market for private equity, and investors have taken a lot of pain recently." Despite being a latecomer in embracing the use of information communications technology, Africa has embraced ICT tools that have put the continent on the right development path. Being latecomers in embracing and indeed starting from a low base in creating information and communication technology sectors, ICT is nonetheless fundamentally transforming our nations and continent, Kagame told the International Telecommunications Union 2009 Summit, which opened in Geneva, Switzerland yesterday. Kagame said that since the October 2007 Connect Africa Summit held in Kigali, investments in communications infrastructure across the continent have proceeded $8 billion. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Zylan at Africa Investor Today. For more information, visit our website at www.africa-investor.com. Cheers for now.
Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.